Welcome to the SaturdayMP Show, episode number 65, being recorded mostly live, February 3rd, 2025. I'm your host, Chris, and this is a show about shipping secure, quality software faster. And today we're going to do that by me practicing the talk that I'm going to give this Thursday at the Ruby JavaScript Python Meetup. So if you happen to be in Edmonton, if you had an off chance you're watching this before this Thursday, go ahead and attend the meetup. Do I have the? Oh, I don't have it open. Let's see. Meetup Edmonton Unlimited. Right, it's this one here. So come attend this one if you. If you attended the meetup, thank you very much for attending it live. Hopefully this video will cover things that maybe I missed during the meetup or you want to watch again. And if you're just watching this on YouTube many years later or something, welcome. I hope again you find it useful. If you do find it useful, feel free to share it with other people. Click like, subscribe, all the thingies. Aside from making me feel good, they just help others find out about this video. So if you found it useful, then clicking those buttons might help others find out about it. So, all right, so let's pretend like we're going to go through this presentation. So I often call my videos, like they're mostly live because I don't edit them very much. But actually, truth be told, this is my second take at this because I really botched the first one. And then because this is a presentation and not some of my other live coding ones, I kind of redid it. So this is my second practice run. Hopefully it goes better than the first. But I'm sure I'll still screw something up. So, and this video will probably be longer than my live presentation because I only have half an hour in the live presentation. So my plan is to make this a little bit longer and then people can come watch this for more details and a little more actually me typing. I think during the presentation, the first go around really exposed that I need to do some cutting and pasting, I think, for some of this stuff. So, all right. So this is refactoring using the famous Gilded Rose Kata. But in this case, it's Python. So I did a Gilded Rose refactoring Kata in .NET, and this one's going to be very similar, just using Python. So you can see the previous YouTube videos. If I remember, I'll put it in the. If I remember, I'll put it in the show description. And if not, just search for it. It'll be in the previous one. So a little bit about me. For those that don't know, you can find me most of the time working with clients through Saturday Morning Productions. I just recently started with a client. It's kind of fun. It's interesting, some interesting work, and then maybe a nonprofit. This is a really busy week, and then I'm going to see my daughter later this weekend in UBC. So, this is a busy week. So I'm actually recording this late at night. I'm skipping some of my other activities I usually do in the evening. Some exercise martial arts stuff. So, busy week. Because the other thing I do is I host the weekly dev chat and Legacy Code Rocks. I help out hosting with both. So those are just live, I guess virtual chats that you're welcome to attend, with the weekly dev chat being mostly about software and web development. Legacy Code Rocks talking about legacy applications and updating them and supporting, maintaining old legacy applications. So you can find out more details about those and the links. And I'm on all the Slacks and stuff like that. So if you ever see that character picture, that's me. So what is the Gilded Rose Kata? So a kata is kind of like a way of practicing something. So as far as I know, it came from the martial arts, karate and stuff like that. It was a way just to practice your kicks and punches, but kind of like instead of just one punch at a time, like kind of flowing, that kind of look cool, like a form. So a couple punches and kicks and spinning around and stuff in it, but it just looks cool. So those are called katas. For software development, that is practicing, excuse me, a software development, whatever you're practicing in software. In this case, it's refactoring. So these are just like made up exercises, almost like homework in school. So you can kind of see on the right here, there's an example of the ugly code we're going to refactor a little bit. And then the Gilded Rose, from my understanding, is based on World of Warcraft, which I never actually played. but it was like a shop in World of Warcraft where you could buy and sell goods. And I think it was really inspired by that. So in this case, we're going to be having some goods that get more valuable or less valuable over time. We'll go through the rules for the Gilded Rose shop here in a minute. If you're looking for more, like if you want other examples, you don't want it in Python, if you just Google Gilded Rose Kata, you'll find Emily Bash's, I believe it's pronounced Bash. You can find her YouTube channel where she talks about refactoring and stuff like that, but she's also put together a GitHub repository that contains all this Gilded Rose example, basically the same example in a whole bunch of different languages, including like weird stuff like SQL, and all the popular languages like C# and Python and all the things. But yeah, so you should go, I highly recommend go checking it out. So refactoring is like, I actually don't know what the formal definition of it. But for me, it's about changing your code, but not actually changing the external behavior. So whether that you're refactoring a method or a whole part of an application or API, basically whatever end user that is, whether it's another developer, like if it's an API and another developer is calling it, or it's an end user using your application, they should not notice any changes after you've done your work. So that's kind of what refactoring is. You've made some internal changes, but the end user doesn't notice anything. Kind of the only exception I found to that is sometimes when you're refactoring, you accidentally improve things. Well, or sometimes you decrease performance, like you accidentally make performance better, or sometimes you make it worse. That's kind of sometimes that's a side effect of refactoring, but in general, people shouldn't notice any changes. No changes to APIs or method signatures or anything like that. I don't think Martin Fowler came up with refactoring, but he made it really famous with his books. And then the refactoring books, and if you Google on the web, there's a lot of refactoring steps. So ways to make code more readable, kind of in a step-by-step like cookbook recipe. So like steps to extract a method. So take a block of code and make it into its own method, renaming a method, moving methods from one class to another, stuff like that. That's what the books, and again, if you Google it, you'll find lots of refactoring recipes. And a lot of the IDEs have these built in now. So when you could just kind of right click, this is even before AI, because it has followed the steps in the recipe book. You could just usually right click on a method and rename it, and it will go ahead and rename all the other methods that, or all the places where that method is called. You can just right click, like select the block of code and right click, and it'll extract a method automatically for you, and stuff like that. So that's what you'll see some examples of that when we go through the demo. And then churn is just kind of, so like when do you need to know when to refactor? Kind of my general rule is I only refactor things I need to touch. Usually, oftentimes these days, I'm working on an existing application. And I don't just refactor an application for the heck of it. That's kind of a waste of time. But if I had to add a new feature, or sometimes even just adding some tests, like if an application has no tests, I will refactor it a bit just to make the testing a little bit easier. But usually I'm touching a block of code for adding a new feature, fixing a bug. And when I do that, that's when I will refactor it. Another interesting spot to look for places to refactor, where you kind of get the biggest bang for your buck, is you can see which files change often. So if you have a bunch of files and they change quite frequently, and then that's a great file to refactor. If you have a file that nobody touches, then it's probably not worth it refactoring it, because nobody really touches it. It's, you're not going to get the ROI on it. And git churn is basically just kind of a script you can run that tells you which files change the most in your Git repository. So you can run git churn for I think this one does the entire history, but you can also run it for, say, like the last 6 months or something like that to find recent changes. And files that change often are good candidates for refactoring. So kind of it's a rule of thumb, but of course that'll change over time. So, or that'll change based on your project and stuff like that. So, all right, so we're going to do some live refactoring. So I'm going to show, well, I haven't showed you exactly all the rules for the Gilded Rose yet, but here's kind of some of the assumptions I'm going off of. There's a class called item, I think, And the kind of the rules are you can't inherit that class. You kind of assume maybe that's an API, or for some reason you can't change it because it'll, I don't know, break something. I try to treat this Gilded Rose demo. I treat it a little bit differently. You can go online to find people that refactor the heck out of the method. I'm not going to do that as much. I'm going to treat this kind of like a real life example where a client said, I need to get conjured manna cakes. I need to actually be like selling this new conjured manna cakes by the end of the week. I need that feature in the Gilded Rose. So I'm going to basically add that and just kind of leave as much of the existing code as I can. And then I try to always follow the camping rule anytime I edit anything, code, or when I actually go camping. It's just leave things better than you found them, leave it a little bit nicer, clean up after yourself. Don't make a class or a method worse with your changes. And there's lots of ways that people can do this refactoring again, so go Google, like you'll find lots of people with different ways to refactor this. Just Google it. This is my just personal example, and I'd love to hear if you do refactor this or have some suggestions for me. Leave them in the comments below, or put links, or yeah, just try it yourself and see what you come up with. All right, so let's. All right, blah blah blah. It's a lot of talking. Okay, so first things first. Let's bring up the Gilded Rose. So these are the requirements for the Gilded Rose. So like I said, it's an in. It sells goods which degrade in quality as they approach their sell date. So they have a bunch of items. They have a sell-in, which is the number of days they have to sell the items. So like 10, they have 10 days to sell the items. Quality is kind of, I guess you can think of it as like how much you can sell it for is the money. The higher number, the better. And then a bunch of rules. So this is kind of for normal items. So by default, it looks like it's going to lower the sell-in and quality every day by 1. But then some of these items have special rules. So like once it's past its sell date, it's good trade twice as fast. The quality's neighbor, age breed is special rules. Sulfur has special rules. Backspace patch has several rules. And then we want to add, this is the whole goal of this, is our client has come to us and we want to add conjured items. So, and then these are the rules for conjured items. Kind of the nice thing about this is, I'll show you how, but we kind of don't care about all these rules. There's a lot of them in there. But we're just going to add some tests to prove that as we edit the code, all these rules are still being followed. And then there's some constraints, right? So there's an update quality method that we're going to be kind of refactoring and doing some stuff with. For me, I'm going to assume we can't change the signature of the update quality method. Like it has to stay as it is, but we can make any changes inside it. There's where it says I can't change the item or items property. And then there's a final requirement at the end. So that's kind of all the requirements. Oh yeah, and here's the Gilded Rose Kata. So you could see like there's Ada language, COBOL, R, MATLAB. I don't even know how MATLAB works. I don't even know what this IO is. Janet. So there's a bunch of languages I never even heard of in here. And there's some SQL and stuff. So yeah, go ahead and give this a shot. It's a lot of fun. So, and for those of you looking for the .NET one, I haven't. I think when I tried the previous recording of this video, I realized I hadn't made the Python refactoring repository public. It's private still, but you can find the .NET one here, and we're basically going to follow the same steps. Maybe skipping a few just because this talk I don't have as much time because there's 2 talks that evening. So like I said, this video is going to go a bit longer, but when I actually do the demo, I only have about half an hour, so I have to make it pretty snappy. So, okay. So let's move that out of the way. And then if you go look at the Python in the Gilded Rose, if you look how it's set up, you're going to notice it's a bit different. I made some changes. So the Gilded Rose class is exactly the same. But I did change like there was no main, but I kind of created a main and moved some. There was like a test fixture for kind of end-to-end or system testing. I moved that into main here. I created this repo to kind of simulate like this is where we're getting our stuff from the database. And just some stuff like that. And then I created a source file and a tests or source folder and a test folder. And this test here is just as it is. As we're going to find out, it's going to fail right away. I also created Docker. So if you want to run it in Docker, which I'm doing, you can go ahead and do that, or you can just run it in. It should pretty much work in any Python 3, I think, example. And you can see my old approval tests in there. Okay, so, all right, so like first thing we're going to do, we just inherited this application. It's pretty gross and ugly. We can see here, so we're trying to look around like, oh, how do we, oops. Like, we're like, okay, let's like, you're kind of hoping, if you're like me, you're like, oh, I'm hoping there's just like a select case or there's a bunch of some sort of inheritance or factory or something that you get the items, but that is not the case. You find out this update quality has this gross if statements that have a lot of negative, like item name not equal to agebree, that's nested quite deep. So it's pretty hard to understand and not that great. If we look at the item class, it's pretty much just like a structure. It just has some properties and that's it, but we're not allowed to change this. And at least for Python, I assume we weren't even allowed to move it out of this same file. So we'll just leave it in there. In the Gilded Rose, it has a constructor, which I'm assuming we kind of don't want to change either. So like it has an items property. It said not to change that. So basically, this signature has to stay the same, but we can change the code in here. So one of the first things I do when I get a new application is I like to just try to run the darn thing. So just does it work? Can I build and compile it? So let's go to the terminal. All right, let's just clear all that off. You can see my old mucking around in there. So in this case, it's a Docker app sh. So in this case, it's a Docker. I'm going to run it through Docker, but you don't have to. If you just want to run it through Python, you can ignore the Docker steps. So, so to run this application, we just go Python and -m source and then main. Okay, and then we can see it just spits out some value. So what this application does is it will basically ask how many days do we want to simulate. Oh, excuse me. How many days do we want to simulate? And then it'll kind of print off the original, what the items are originally worth. So their sell-in and their quality. And then it will call update quality on it for every update quality will change that. So if we look, here's the initial values for everything. So here's the items, the dexterity verse has to be sold in 10 days and it's worth $20 or whatever quality means. After day 1, it has a sell-in date of 9 and its quality goes down by 1. And you can see all the other things kind of changed. Like sulfurous has special rules, so it stayed the same. And the concert tickets, they have these weird things where they get more valuable. So that's how the application does. And it looks like we can pass in. So it's got system arguments, so we can pass in. So by default it's 2, so let's just do 4. Did we get 4? Let's see. Make sure I didn't. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Yeah, so there's 4 days. You can see it keeps going down and the values keep changing. So that's good. So the application seems to work. It seems to do things. The other thing I like to do when I get a new application is I like to run all the tests. So we can just run these tests. And I think this Gilded Rose is kind of like a good simulation of real life because tests fail. So oftentimes when I'm working with a client, I'll get a new application and blammo, tests fail right off the bat. So then you have to decide what you're going to do with those tests that fail and what you're going to do with the ones that pass and stuff. So in this particular case, because this test fails, we are in here. We're just going to start with it by ignoring it. So I think, how do I, oh yeah, skip. Skip, we don't, fails. So this is what I would usually do in a new application. I would mark it as fails or something, and that would just remind me to come back and take a look at it. So if we run this again, right, we can say it's skipped. So that's all good. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set, when I do these commits, I'm just going to use the AI generated messages and then probably go in and clean them up after. But they're usually, I find the AI messages, the summary is not great because it doesn't explain the why I'm doing stuff, but this kind of in-depth description part is usually not too bad because it's pretty good at figuring out what you did, but not why you did it. So I'll just do some, when you're doing it, a real client or whatever, you'll put better commits and all this stuff. Oh, and I should note too, I already created a branch, so we're in this feature add conjugate item branch. So there we are. All right, let's go back here. All right, so we're just going to ignore that test. And then the next thing we're going to do is, because there's no tests and there's no real, when I start a new project too with a client, I really like to add some end-to-end tests or some integration or system tests, something that just proves to me that key parts of the application work. So when I'm in there making changes, I'm confident I didn't break anything. I know it kind of sucks. It takes a little bit of time, but it really helps me. And a lot of times the clients don't realize it, but it really helps them in the long run to have these tests in place. Because even as a consultant, when I disappear, at least they have those tests there that they can run for other developers. So in this case, we're going to, because this application, if you remember, if we go back to the terminal, it just spits out a bunch of text. We can use something called approval tests, which are already installed here. You can just Google approval tests and find everything you like about them. But basically what they do is they will, you'll end up, we don't have it now, but after we run the test one time, we'll get, or run the application once to get what it should do. And that's basically all this output here. And we save that to a text file. And then the next time we run the test, it's going to compare the output to that text file. And if something changes, it's going to fail that test. So it's a great, approval tests are great if you have an application that spits out a bunch of text like JSON or something like that. It's easy to capture, and then you can just save them as approval tests. So let's do a quick example. Let's go through that because that's a great way. That's going to give us a good test coverage too. We have no tests, or test coverage is 0, but we'll go through that right away here too. So let's create a new file, test main .py. Okay, and then what do I need? I forget exactly what I have to include, so let's just cut and paste. Oh no, wait, I need this. Just grab this whole thing and clean it up. Oh, no, that's the actual main. Sorry, just click there. I want, no, this one. Let's grab that, throw that in here. We don't need this from, we'll rename this to main test. We don't want to skip this one. I'll get rid of this, and we need that if main at the bottom. So if we do def, let's do test 30 days self. And then, so this basically we're going to run the application for 30 days. So if we take a look at main again, if you remember, it takes system arguments and it prints directly to the output. But luckily in Python, we can kind of do some things to capture that output and compare it. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go sys.argv. We're going to set it to main and 30 days. Oh yeah, and then we have to import system. And then we're going to, oh yeah, I do have to do, I'll have to do that in a minute. We need the result. I'm trying to remember how I did this. Result equals io.string io. There we go. And I need to import that. So let's just let that the IDE do that work for us. And then I think we could do with how did that work again? How do I do buffer? I forget exactly how to do this in Python. This is a try, but there is a way I could do it. How do I do the above using a with statement? I think it was with. It was a lot cleaner than a try. Yeah, with read. Okay, there we go. So with redirect standard out result. Right, I want to call main. Oh, and this I have to import this name. Was it import from? Oh, I don't know if it's smart enough to grab that one. So these are all the system ones. So yeah, there we go. Import main. The nice thing about this is it'll redirect the standard output just for this with call, and then I'll reset it after. I don't have to manually do that. And then we can verify. So the verify is part of, oops. So verify is part of the approval framework. So if we go here, import this name, approval test.verify. So it's right there. Let's put it up there. I don't know, do people just organize their imports? And I don't know what the proper way to organize them is in Python. But let's just do it alphabetically, I guess. So imports and then froms. So what this does is it will compare the results that we get back. So the results, we just have to call get value because it's a buffer. That gives us a string. It'll compare it to a file. There's no file here, but let's just run it and I'll show you what it's like. So if we run these unit tests. All right, so you can see here, basically we got an exception because received doesn't match approved. And if we look at received, we should have 30 days in here. Yeah, 30 days. And if we looked at approved, it's 0. So one of the problems, because we're running in Docker, is permissions. So if I actually try to paste this in here, it's going to complain. It's read only. So let's change that so that we can change owner. Like if we go cd test, we're going to see it's owned by root. So this won't be a problem if you're running this in not in Docker. Main test dot approved. Okay, so now we can. So this is a result we got. We're happy with this. This is what the application currently does. Again, I've commented out this because I want to capture what the application currently does. So now we can run our test again, and then we can run from this command line here. I have figuring out these imports is such a pain in the butt for me in Python. What am I doing wrong here? Failed to import test module test main. test Gilded Rose. Oh yeah, M unit test. Test main up here, line 7. Oh yeah, I can't. I can never remember why it doesn't. Do I want to spend a bunch of time figuring that out? It's such a huge pain in the butt, Python imports. Because they work fine when I run it through PyCharm, but for some reason this doesn't. From source.main import main. I'm not running from tests. Okay, there we go. Haha, there we go. So we see we got the one S is skipped, and now it passes. So no problems. And then let's just prove that it actually fails, like that we're actually testing something. So let's go here and let's just make a change to the code. Sure, if it's 3. All right, and then we get this failed, so that's good. And then we can actually diff these two files. So one of the problems too with Docker is I can't use a built-in diff, like PyCharm's built-in diff, because it's running in Docker. At least I couldn't get it to work. If you can, let me know in the comments below. But you can just click on the two and you can see the differences in here. So if we go here, we can see that the elixir of the mongoose, this is approved. We expected 2, but we got 3 because we changed the value. So, right. So apparently changing that number screws up. Oh, it screwed up the dexterity vest too. So, all right. So if we go back to our Gilded Rose and we undo that change, and then we run it again, everything's good. Now we want to commit we don't want to commit the results, but we're going to want to commit the approved text to source code control. So let's do that. Let's just generate some comments. Add approval just for 30-day simulation. Sure. Done. So now the other thing let's look at, we don't need the AI right now. Let's look at test. Do I have the test coverage open here? Yeah, coverage. So let's run our tests, but with let's run the unit test with coverage, and let's see how much of our code is actually covered. This is also something you should probably do with new projects. So if you have a bunch of tests that actually do pass, you should see. You can see kind of. I want to see all the files for now. It's kind of nice that it shows. You can filter it though. So I can see the Gilded Rose. 100% of the Gilded Rose is covered. That's what this green line means. Depending on your IDE, you may or may not have these features. Main tests 94% of lines. Repo tests 100%. That's fine. 93% of lines are covered. This last little bit. That's fine. So we got pretty good test coverage just by this one end-to-end test, which is great. If your test coverage is really low, then of course you might want to add some more end-to-end tests to increase it. But the fact that we're testing everything in Gilded Rose, like we're hitting every line, is fantastic. So it gives us more confidence that we won't break something. So, okay. So let's go. Let's do the next thing. So the next thing I like to do if I have a big complicated method, if you remember, we're trying to add conjured items. So if we go look, where's those requirements again? Let's bring it over here. So we're trying to add conjured items, and conjured items degrade in quality twice as fast as normal items. So we have to figure out what a normal item does, which I think is just like everything that doesn't have a bold is a normal item, I'm assuming. So this, that's my assumption. We'll test that in a little bit. But if we look at this code, we can't really see anything that has to do with normal items, which is kind of a bummer. Like ideally, like I would have loved to see like something like if normal item right, do something. If aged Bree. Right, this is ideally what you want to see, something like this, or some sort of inheritance or factory or something like, yeah, and that's kind of what we're going to be aiming for. We kind of want the code to kind of look something like this, but we don't see that right now. But what we can see is if we go, yeah, if we do the collapse all. So some things I like to do when you have a file this complicated is I like to do the collapse all and then just kind of open up one at a time. And you can see like this method, basically it's a for loop. This method is a giant for loop that has an if else and then an if and then an if. So it's kind of a nice way of doing this, collapsing everything and then expanding it to see what is going on. And so that's what we got. And there's no, like, look at this high level. I can't see any way to figure out like what a normal item does or any of that stuff. Like, this looks pretty gross. So what we're going to do is we're gonna start simplifying it, because ideally what we'd like is, oh, where's my example? Ideally what we'd like is something like this. So the first kind of easy step we can do, but this is the other thing that breaking up into high level thing does, is we can easily extract this into so I guess something else we could do, like, so what am I trying to say? I don't want to make, so this is a bunch of existing code, and even with some of these refactorings that are quote unquote safe, they still always pose some risk if you do the refactoring wrong, or especially, I don't know about how Python is, but like Ruby, like I have a lot of experience with Ruby as well as like C#. So C# is usually pretty safe because it's a compiled language, but you can still use reflection that refactorings won't catch. And Ruby has all this weird stuff where you can have these magic methods that just appear. You can inject methods into objects at runtime and stuff, and it becomes really complex. Like, it's super easy to screw something up in Ruby. So I don't like to do huge refactorings of existing code, like, because again, we just want to get conjured mana items to work. So what I would love to see is, if it's a conjured item, do something else, right? Just handle everything else. Do the conjured thing, do everything else. That's kind of the structure we're going to aim for. And so one of the easiest ways we can do this is, and I guess another thing too to watch out for is kind of treating this more like a real life example. If you have an ugly method like this in a class, I guarantee you this class is not like 50 lines. It's like hundreds of lines or thousands of lines. So I don't want to add more logic or more stuff to this already likely very bloated class. I'm going to want to extract some of this logic to another class, especially logic that has to do with calculating the specific thing for calculating the or updating an item's value. So I would love to move some of that to its own class. So the first thing we're going to do before we move stuff to its own class is we can just take this and we can refactor this to its own method. And let's just call this update item. Like, update quality is not a great name. We can't change that name because we're kind of treating it as we can, but it should really be update quality and sell in. Like, it should be update everything. So we're just going to call it update item. And if we see here, we've extracted it here. So now we have a for loop that goes through each item and just calls update item, and it's automatically created. Oh, it says it's static. We're just going to leave it non-static. We'll ignore those warnings. And then after every time we make a change, we should probably run our tests again. So an easier way to do it if your IDE supports it is, where's my run? Here we are. We could just do this. We can enable this run every time there's a change. So let's run our test now and make sure they're still green. So if this gets annoying, I'll turn that off. Do you want to display? Yeah, that's fine. Replace. Oh, I don't want to keep showing the coverage. So I might have to turn that off. But yeah, so if this gets annoying, we'll just manually run it or whatever. But this is kind of a nice feature I like. And it only runs a test. We only have one test in here, but if you have multiple tests, most of these automatic test runners will only run the test for code that changed. So, okay, so we've extracted that to its own item. So, so that's pretty good. Why don't we just commit that? So refactoring, I find, is lots of little commits as well. So if you screw something up, it's easier to go back. And of course, you can always squash and merge some of these commits and stuff like that. Go in and clean them up. Okay, so now because, like I said, I don't want... So now I could just add if statement here, but I don't want to do that. I want to leave this nicer. I don't want this class to get any bigger. This Gilded Rose class is huge already. Like, I'm assuming it's huge. So let's move this to its own method. Oh no, we're all stuck. Don't ask again. No, that's fine. I'm just going to say no for now. Okay, let's try this again. Right, so we want to extract this to its own class. Oh, will it let me do it here? I'm kind of assuming you can do the same thing. Oh, I was trying to I think you could do the same thing in .NET, but maybe you can't. Okay. Oh, okay. Maybe let's see. Let's see if it'll let me create a new file in here. So what should we call this? Let's move it to I don't know, item updater. Let's see if that actually does what I want. Hey, look at that. Okay. So it moved it to update items. It added. The refactoring was smart enough to add this import. So, and it looked like, here we go, def update item. And then if we look at our run, right, it ran all the tests. They all still passed. So that's great. So that's a nice simple refactoring. So again, let's just commit that real quick. Just rerun this real quick just to make sure everything. Okay, yep, that's all good. Why is, oh, because I have to rerun that coverage. So if we rerun, I just didn't want it to keep popping up the coverage. Can I change? Yeah, let's just rerun the coverage and make sure everything's good. So if we go here, we run it with coverage. We go look at the coverage here, we can see oh, why doesn't it show? Oh, you're failing me now, coverage. How do I, did I, when I told it not to put it on there, is it gonna do that forever? Oh, I think I screwed this. Oh, great. Well, good thing I'm doing this in a video so that I can not have this problem. Why? Oh, I'll have to figure that out, I guess, later. It's got to be setting somewhere. Anyway, the coverage disappeared, which is kind of a bummer, but oh well. So everything looks good. Oh, this is freaking out for some reason. Okay. All right, let's get back to the demo here. Right, so now we have it all in this update items here, so that's great. So now we haven't, the nice thing is we haven't made this file any bigger. If anything, we've made it smaller. I'm assuming this Gilded Rose has a bunch of other methods that, I don't know, do other things. Let's get rid of this too. All right, so what we want to do is we want to figure out kind of what main item or a normal item looks like. So now that we've extracted it to its own class or its own file here, we can add a test. Let's add a new file. What did we call this? Item, no, I have to test item updater. Okay, and then in this case, we're not going to use our what do we call it? I can't think of the name. We're not going to use our approval test. We're just going to use a normal unit test. So first of all, let's add the from source dot not Gilded Rose item. Oh, it didn't name this properly, I don't think. Let's rename this. I'm assuming in Python this should be item updater, like this. Import update item. Okay, and then, you know, if you can think of a better, I think on my the .NET one I called it test. I called it like end of day calculator or something eventually, but let's just leave it as item updater for now. Changing names, especially of new stuff you added, is usually pretty easy with modern IDEs and refactoring tools. So, especially if you're the one that created it, just in that commit. So, let's update normal item. Okay, so we got two things for normal items. If we look at our, there's kind of two conditions. End of each day, it lowers the values for both items, but we have to keep track once the quality, once a sell date has passed, the quality goes down twice as fast. We'll have to test quality is never negative, and quality can never be more than 50. So those are kind of the three things we need to test for. So, okay, so let's go normal item before sell date, and then self. Okay, and then in this case, we're just going to create a new item. Sure, it doesn't really matter. So in this case, the normal items are basically anything without an item name. So another refactoring that's pretty safe to do is extracting these to constants. So maybe we'll do that in a minute. I kind of skipped it because I didn't think I'd have time, but maybe we'll do that refactoring. It's pretty fast, but we'll do that in a minute here. So So item, we create an item with whatever, like let's just call this normal item. And we want the cell in. So let's make it 1 so that we're right at the edge of the cell in date. So we have our item, and then we want to basically call it. So we have update item. This is not a class, so we just call it. And then we want to excuse me. We'll have to double check if these are right. So if it's before the cell and date, the quality should go down by 1. And then, why don't you like this name? Oh yeah, it always wants to make it static. I don't know. PyCharm, what are you doing? After cell and date, that's good. Normal item. Excuse me. Whoops, this should be 0. And then let's have that as 10. And then we should also have, oops, these two. So, you know, if you're not doing this as a demo, whoops, this should be 8 and -1. So if you're not doing this as a demo, then you're probably not going to have these running all the time. But you can see that these tests have been failing. And now when it saves it, it'll run it again. Let's see if they pass. Oh, they both still fail. Oh, I need to create a new, not just item like this, an array. I need to create a new item. What does an item look like again? Not main. It is hiding in the Gilded Rose. So I have to, just pass in the 3. Okay. Name, selling quantity. Is it new? Normal item. Yeah, there we go. And I don't need this. So I will need to import this name. Gilded Rose.item. There we go. Cool. So is that one passing now? If that one passes, then we should be good. So sometimes having the auto test running can be kind of annoying. Oh, and then I need to call update item. There we go. I think I could just do the same thing up here. So let's just do that. Item. No, I want the cell in to be 1 and the quantity to be 10. Yeah, there we go. Why are you still failing? Oh, item dot. Because I treat it like an array. Okay. Cell in. There we go. Save that, let it run. All right, yeah, the first one's passing, so that's good. All right, so now we have some tests for some normal items. So we're pretty sure that that's all working. And just to double check, let's go into our Gilded Rose here. Item updater. And let's go, so a normal item, let's see if we can find a place where a normal item is. So it's not HB and it's not a backstage pass, it's still a normal item. If the quantity is greater than 0 and it's not, so this is a normal item. So if we did this -2, both of our tests should fail. Save. Run the test there. Yeah, so these fail. Oops. Do I need to do this? How does the certs work? In Python, do I write it like this? I think that's right, Python's so weird. Sometimes you want the brackets, other times you don't want the brackets. I don't know. Make up your mind. So hopefully these ones, when they fail now, will... basically I want to set these asserts up so I can see it was expecting blah, but was... Oh, it's not... Really? Alright. How do you assert in unit test that value equals something? Oh, do I have to do a self.assert? Self.assert. Okay. Right. Yeah, actual value, expected value. Yeah, okay. Oh, you don't like assert? What is fix with AI going to do? Oh, assert equal. Okay. Aha. There we go. All right. Now, let's see if the... all right. So these are coming back. Just make sure they all come back green. Oh, oh yeah, they should fail. That's the approval one. Oh, am I outputting all the... Yeah, there. 8 not equal to 9. Okay. Oh, why am I outputting all the... Oh, I thought I redirected the standard output. It shouldn't show up here, but apparently it does. Oh, it's showing me the differences in here. Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it's doing. Oh, that's a big file to show all the differences. So, okay, well, let's fix it. Let's see if it's not going to... Item updater. Let's convert that back to -1. We run all those tests, and hopefully they should all pass. Unless I screwed something up big time. All right, so yeah, so all 4 passed, so that's all good. Fantastic. Okay, so let's commit that change. Okay, so we have that. So now we know what a normal item does. So now the next thing we can do, if we look at our item updater, if we update item, so there's a couple of ways we could do this. The way right? Kind of a brute force way to do it. Just wait, I'm trying to, how did I do this in .NET? I just want to be kind of the same. Right, so what we should probably do is let's start adding some tests for mana cakes here. So let's go. So we have test item updater. So we have our normal items. So we could add tests for all the other ones, but I'm pretty happy. Again, I want to get this into production as quick as I can. I'm pretty happy with this end-to-end testing in test main. So let's add some tests for test update conjured item. Oops. Before cell date, sure. So if we remember our rules, conjured items degrade in quality twice as fast as normal items. So so some of these requirements are not great. So I think we just make the assumption that twice as fast, at the end of each day they lower by 1, so it's going to be 2. And if it's twice as fast here, 2 times 2, this will be 4 times. So it'll go down by, quality will go down by 4, and it'll go down by 2 if it's not past the sell-in date. So before the sell-in date, let's just cut and paste this in here. So they're just called conjured. Oops. So we'll just call it conjured. And again, it doesn't really define what a conjured item is. So let's actually go look at our example data. It was conjured mana cake. So we're just going to assume that anything that starts with conjured is going to match. So let's go here. We'll just call it conjured item. And it should degrade twice as fast as a normal item. So this should be, instead of quality should be 8 in 1 day. So now when these tests run, these should fail. So if we look here, we just see our failed tests. We can see it failed. We got 9 expecting 8. And so let's do some test-driven development, I guess. So here, what I would do, this is kind of a brute force, and we'll refactor this a little bit later, but let's just see if we have some of the logic right. So like a brute force way to do this would be if item.name equal, is there a starts with, in this case, conjured. Yep, and then we're just going to return. So that's pretty ugly. It's not great, but it should pass that test. So let's see if this test passed. Great, so that passed. And now if let's add after, so this would be mimicking this cell in 0, so it should be 6. So this one should fail here when it reruns. All right, so yeah, expecting 6. So if we go here, we can add some logic in here. So if is less than 0, is it greater than or equal to 0? I don't remember. Item dot quality equals, is there not a minus equals in Python? else plus equals. Oh, I need a colon. Yeah. Okay, let's see if that fixes it. Oh, test failed. What one failed? Oh, both of them failed. So maybe, what is my logic here again? So if it's selling is 1, how? Oh, okay. If we look at this logic here, if we break this, let's break up this high-level logic a little bit here. Okay, so if we look at this, if it's, we're actually, right, we're not decrementing the quality till we're not decrementing the sell-in date till after we decrement the quality. Where's the sell-in date? Is decremented here. Okay. So I think we need to move this like this. And try that. Oh, no, I'm still wrong. Oh, wait, if it's less than... All right, what do I have for normal items? So sell in 1, take 2, 10 to... Oh, this should be -1 to start with. Oh, right, so it should be, it's greater than 0. Okay. All right, what do we got going on here? Click to see the difference. Update conjured item before sell. Oh. There we go. So this should be 2, and this should be 4. There, that's our problem. There. Whew. An hour already. I don't know if I would get this done. Okay, so all those pass. So there. So now we have the conjured items all set up. All right. So conjured items done. Let's at least the unit test part of it. So let's commit those. Okay, so let's commit that. Right, so that's pretty good. So now let's add a test for a system test. Let's update our system tests, and then and then we can, well, do we refactor this now? I guess I would debate whether let's do some refactoring now that we have this, because this is kind of gross here, right? So really this should be in its own method, right? So let's let's extract this to a method. Oops, why can't you do that? Oh, it doesn't like the return. Okay. Okay, I don't understand. What is that error message? Refactor. Oh, do I need to get rid of this return? Oh, that's not very user-friendly. Oh, yeah, huh. It's not like the return. So let's do the update conjured item. Did I spell conjured right? Yeah. All right. So I'll put it down here. Oh, I didn't want to do it quite like that. Let's actually just, sorry, let's take this logic here. Factor update. There we go. Now we can put it here. I don't know, is there a way to simplify this? Oops. Oh, I can invert that. That's okay. We need this return here for all the tests to pass. So that's kind of a simple extraction. So getting us close to that kind of closer to that if statement that we want. The other option is we could put the logic are my tests all passing? Yeah, okay. We can put that logic, or sorry, now we have this here. Well, let's just kind of just do it a step at a time here. So if we go look at our item, test, sorry, just let me take a look here. Yeah, okay. So we'll put it in its own separate file or separate method. So we have that. We can also like put this in a giant else statement or something. But I think the other option is we could also put it inside of our, in this update item. I think I would love it if we had else, like update everything else, which is update normal pre sulfurous and backstage. Right, so we'd want something like that. We can even just right, so we probably would need the update item part in there. Else true. Right, and this is a big gross name, but like that's really what this method is going to do. So if we take all of this here and put it into its own method, oh, what was that? What did I call that ugly method? Okay, let's take this. And then we just clean this up a little bit. We call this update conjured. Okay, so let's see if our tests all pass here. Yeah, so that's looking pretty good. So we have this update item. Actually, let's rename this too. Just rename it update. And then let's commit all these changes. Assuming all the tests pass, we'll give a second for all these to run before I commit it. Yeah, so everything passed. All right, so we have all that in there. So that's looking pretty good. Like we have our update normal brie, update conjured. So we're getting to kind of what we want. So later on, we could obviously add more if statements in here. So the last thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we have our end-to-end test running correctly. So let's go to our repository here, repo, and let's add this. Let's add 2 of them because we want to test what am I looking for here? Yeah, we want one that goes for a while because it's going to decrease in quality so fast. So our new conjured manna cake should, if they sell in 3 days, this should hit 0 within 3. 5 days, this won't hit 0, so it'll still keep going down. So let's see what happens. Oh, and I just realized there's probably an error in some of our logic. So let's do this here. Let's this test should fail. This test 30 days is going to fail because we're going to get a new let's turn off auto running because I think it keeps deleting it. And let's just manually run it. Oh, I got a bug here somewhere. Oh, no module name, item updater. In main, Gilded Rose. Oh, I have to use this dot. Okay. All right, so we have the received is not equal approved. So that's basically, oh, why isn't the received showing up here? Do I need to refresh this? Oh, there it is. For some reason, it's not showing up in my GUI here. Oh, is it because it's owned by root? I don't know how to refresh directory in here. Oh, that's really annoying. How do I get you to appear in here? Oh. Okay. Well, that's disappointing. Well, let's just view it in here for now. So if we go... Jeez. Okay. I know sometimes I really try hard to support JetBrains, but sometimes their IDEs just wig out for me. Right, so, okay, so what did, okay, let's just close this down and try it again. Close and stop. Pie chart. Remember, mostly live. Alright, because we're almost done, so, oh yeah, there's the Gilded Rose one for .NET. See if this fixes it. Okay. Aha! There we are. Okay. Cool. We're back in business. So, we want to look at these mana cakes, and we want to see if this logic is correct. So, it's going to go 3 to 6 and 5 and 20, and then 2 and 4. That's right. And then 4 and 18. So, that looks good. 1 and 2. 0 and 0. That's correct. 2 and 14. Oh, but this is -1. So, the quality should never be below 0, right? Isn't that one of the rules? Like the quality of an item is never negative. So we need to add a not negative check in here. And we'll see the other one will get -2. Right, so we do have a bug in our thing. So let's fix that. All right, so we want to check what do we have here? 9. So let's change the quality not to 10. Well, sure, we can leave it at 10, but let's put the quality at, oh, what is the best way to do this? So we have 10, 10, 10, 6. Let's do a test for our def test update conjured item. Quality below 0. All right, and then update item. That should stay at 0. So let's. All right, maybe it was running all those tests all the time. That was killing. So let's just manually run these tests. Run your test. we won't turn on that automatically. Maybe that's what broke us. Okay, so this unit test. From where are we? Item updater. Oh, I need to put that as source, I think. Oops, where are we? Gilded Rose. No, where? Yeah, source. Okay. All right, what test is failing? This one. So, oh wait, do I have this in the wrong order? Oh, expected -4. Oh, I have these backwards. Oh, geez. That's embarrassing. Ugh, what's going on? Oh, I guess all those other ones are backwards too, but let's just fix this one for now. All right, so that, let's rerun that. Expected 0. Okay, so it should be 0, but we got -4. So if we go look in our nope, source, our item updater, we need a check in here. If item.quantity. All right, so that should fix that. All right, so that fixed that, but our 30 days is still failing. So if we go look at the received, let's see if that fixed it. So we have 3 and 6, 5 and 20, 2 and 4, 0, 0. So the next one should stay 0. Yeah, -1 and 0, so it's good. 10, 6, 2, 0. Okay, so that looks good. And then the rest, they shall just stay 0 from there on in. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. So with this, let's commit everything but the repo. What's the unversion file? Oh, we don't want. We should actually add that to the get ignored, the received. So let's see if it'll generate just a commit message for the selected one. Yeah, okay. So that's fixed, and now we can add the repo, and we can add this to approved. So now if we run these tests, they should all pass. Yeah, so that's good. So that's kind of okay, let's commit that before I forget. Okay. So that's kind of a way that I would do this refactoring, where we've made life a little better. Like we simplified not this one. Where's the Gilded Rose? Right, we simplified this Gilded Rose class. Like, it's a lot smaller. We got rid of a lot of methods from it. We moved it all to its own class. So we could rename this class. We can rename these methods as needed. And we kind of set ourselves up here that we could have, you know, if it's this, do these particular types of updates. We set ourselves up for that. And we could also do things like, if once we have an update normal, we could extract the kind of common logic for update conjured and update normal into one, and stuff like that. We could change these methods because right now they modify the method passed in. We could change it so it returns a new item or something like that, or it returns the sell-in or quality value. But this would be kind of a good way to do it, where we've set ourselves up that we could do other stuff pretty easily. And, you know, another good refactoring obviously is to move this to a method. Well, let me do that here. Extract method is conjured. Like, you could extract this to something like is conjured item, right? So that you could change what makes a conjured item. Because we don't have access to the, oh right, I need to, I'm renaming these like they're .NET. This should be is, yeah, thank you. That's what I meant it to be. Right, like, you know, you might have some item inheritance, like maybe eventually you could start changing item inheritance and stuff. So is conjured item, you could have is normal item, and then right now we're just checking the starts with, but maybe there's other logic, like, you know, maybe pull it from the database and they finally add the type to it or something like that. Let's just check if that passes. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So that's kind of how I would refactor or tackle the Gilded Rose Kata. So yeah, how would you know, obviously there's more cleanup we could do, but that would be good. Like I said, this is conjured items are there. The client is happy. We've left this code in a better place than it was before. Like, some other easy wins are obviously extracting these to constants, stuff like that. But yeah, so yeah, like if you were a developer to add more logic to this would be a lot like another new item that's not conjured. Like, you could see this and be like, oh, I can easily add it into here. If you had to edit what some of these are, again, you have to go into here and refactor this. Oh, it's gross. But yeah, that's how I would do it. So we added some more. We added some unit tests, which is great. We added some. Let's commit. We had some unit tests. We added some system tests. So I guess the last thing we could do is we can delete this test because it doesn't do anything. Sure. So I have it in the history there. Okay, so yeah, we've followed the camping rule. If things better off than they were, we've made clients happy. We're pretty happy, and life is good. Now you can do a release, and then maybe the next version after that, you've cleaned up some more of this code as you keep adding features. Or maybe this doesn't change. Maybe there's only items ever added like once every 2 years. Like, this is a new item. They haven't a new item in like 5 years. Then maybe this code doesn't change in a while. Then who cares? Just leave it. If you don't need to muck with this code, or the logic for HPE isn't going to change anytime soon, just leave this code. There's no reason to do anything with this unless you actually have to change some of this logic. So yeah, so let me know what you thought. I don't know how I'm going to do this in half an hour. I'm really going to have to trim this down, but maybe we'll just jump right into the demo. I won't even do any slides. Okay. But yeah, if you liked what you saw here, like and subscribe and share, leave constructive comments. If you have something you'd like to see me try in the future, you can send an email to ask@SaturdayMP.com or leave a comment below. I'd love to answer any questions, or if you're like, do a demo of so-and-so, do it live so we can watch you fail. Or struggle, yeah, send it to my way. That would be great. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day. And oh man, it's cold today. It's like -30 out right now. So -30 degrees Celsius for those of you watching in the States. So hopefully you're warm when you're watching this, or if it is -30, you're lucky like me, you're in a nice warm house. And I hope you have a great day, and I will catch you next time. Take care.